And welcome, everybody. I'm Robert Aducci, and I'm here with Tim Brown. And of course, now it looks like Tim's audio didn't come through. Hold on 1 second. I know that audio issues. What is going on? All right, how about that? Try it again, Tim. You there? No, it is not. All right, I'm gonna try it this way. How about that? I know. It's just gonna be me talking over here. What is happening? Nope. Let me try one more thing over here.
Hello.
All right, try that. Can you talk, Tim?
Check one, check
Aha!
two.
There we go.
Hey, you
I had
got
to,
me.
I had
All
to go
right.
back. I had to go back to the old way I was doing it. Now, for some
I
reason, it
was
didn't work. Jeez.
sorry, I was in poor voice earlier.
I
I'm
know.
better now.
G, he says Robert's always silencing Tim in these. It's my master
I've
plan.
I've noticed that too. Thank you for pointing that out in the chat. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
Someday we'll get this all straightened out.
Someday. All right. So, uh, let's we're here to talk about all things Ulysses, what we've been up to for the recently, and what we'll be doing in the future. And so, in the future, we will be working on Ulysses Con. Ulysses Con Online is an online convention that's going to be July 24th through 26th. So coming up real quick here.
Yes, it is.
Currently, the German site is up. We're still waiting on them to kind of finish up the English translation, and I'll get that up hopefully over the weekend. So for right now, if people want to go, you could go check it out. It's got our times on there. I'll also make some posts since they put it out there with the times and everything. I'll make some posts that
Right.
include the times, because last time we posted, we just kind of posted the general times, like the by day and which panels were out there. But I will put something out there that has all of the individual times, and then when they update it for English, they'll have the GM signups. And so if you want to be a GM for a game, we're sort of keeping it sort of open so you can sign up and run your games whenever you want, for whatever time period. So there's
I,
not specific slots, but you can just look at those, against say panels that you want to attend to make sure you're not playing in those. And so when you sign up as a GM, you're going to need a few things. This will all be laid out there in a form, but I'm just going to tell you now. So you'll need obviously your name, what system you're running, and you don't have to just run, just run our games. Obviously, we want you to, but if you want to run something else, you can do that as well.
absolutely.
So the number of players that you're going to have, the experience level of your players, if you want beginners or more advanced players, and then the character level of experience, then what day and time and the duration, and then kind of any a little adventure blurb. And then what's going to happen is when you hit submit, it's going to go to our web team, and then they will get it put it on the website rather quickly. And then once it's there, then players can click there and sign up. And when you get a game, we're going to run all of this through our Discord. So if you have not used Discord, definitely check that out. You can download it. It's free. And we have a Ulysses Discord. That's our kind of base Discord. We're going to create
Right.
another Discord for the convention.
Right.
And that will be every game will have its own channel and its own talk
Right.
channel and its own chat channel, text chat channel. So if you're familiar with how to use that, it's super easy. The audio and the video on Discord's great now.
So yeah, so that's Ulysses Online Convention. That's going to be July 24th through 26th. So what is that? 2 weekends from now?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Basically 2 weekends from now, we're going to run that. And the following weekend is when they're going to have the online Gen Con. And of course, Ulysses, we have a lot of different things going on with Gen Con's online experience as well. So that's 2 weekends you can have a lot of fun with a lot of Ulysses games and a lot of other games as well. Definitely check it out. With regard to Myth, Dawn of Heroes, that is, of course, is our re-release of the Myth game. We're moving ahead with a lot of great stuff there. I know on the manufacturing side, we've got molds well underway. We've got a lot of new photography. In fact, I think it was shared with us that we'll get out on social media and other places at the factory floor and the people making the molds and things like that. That's for all of those miniatures that people who backed the original game are still waiting for. We've got all those molds in progress. It is a bunch. It's a lot of great work going on there. We're pretty excited about that. As we move forward to launching our new version of the game, Myth: Dawn of Heroes, it'll be getting out to fans a little later this year. So that's pretty exciting stuff.
Definitely. So for Myth Tales of Legend, Ross and JM host their campfire chat every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, where they talk about all aspects of the game, and they alternate. One week it's rules and mechanics, and the next it's kind of story and settings. This week we're a bit delayed, but I should be getting those up later this afternoon. Yeah, so they should be up this afternoon.
Great.
Fading Suns tonight. GM JM DeFogie and his crew will be playing Fading Suns at 5:30 Pacific on Twitch, and they're continuing with their Curse of the Abandoned game. Yesterday, Bill and Andrew talked about aliens in Fading Suns on their Heretical Musings show.
Right.
And the next episode for that will be July 21st.
Awesome. In the Dark Eye, I know that work is progressing very nicely on the Gods of Aventuria book and all the associated products that are going to be a part of that crowdfunding that's been given a date to start July 21st, and it'll run through August 11th. We had a nice meeting earlier this morning where Tayo, who's in charge of the project, actually shared with us on screen many of the pages of the already laid out Gods of Aventuria book. It looks just great. They've done a terrific job. In addition to that, that crowdfunding is going to feature the remainder of the Theater Knights campaign books. That's numbers 4 through 6. So all of that is going to be going on. There are previews available, Robert. Which are those?
Yeah, so there's the Gods of Aventuria preview, which is like the base preview that kind of just tells about the about overall what's in the crowdfunding. And then we have a tradition preview for Efford. Then there's the Vistas of the Theater Knights campaign, which kind of talks about where the campaign goes and like in the world. So you have like a little highlight of that. And then the most recent one was expanding your blessed one. So it was new movements, liturgies, and special abilities. And then there'll be a new one tomorrow.
Great. So as far as streaming content for the Dark Eye is concerned, Robert's done his handful of playthrough sessions on the Book of Heroes. The last time we played through an adventure, but he died before he finished.
Yeah,
is that right? Are you gonna do it again? What's your plan there?
Yeah, it'll come up and do that
again. What happens if you die twice? Are you done?
I don't know. I think you just start it where you saved. That's the beauty of video games.
Can we take bets on that here on the program? Does that cross a line? Probably does.
So yeah, I mean, I don't really have good luck in playing the video games. There's a bunch of I did the single, not the video games, but like the single player games. I did more of the Dark Eye stuff, and I died in those a couple times too. So
okay, so we'll just let that lie. Now, Red Moon Roleplay has put out their final Justice and Noble Valor session. This is a pre-recorded actual play that takes place over 3 hours of gameplay. It's both on YouTube and it's a podcast. Where can they find that?
That is, you can go to YouTube. You can go to redmoonroleplaying.com, and we'll have links for all those.
Awesome. So then for the Aventuria adventure card game, which of course is set in the same universe as the Dark Eye role-playing game, the next crowdfunding for the next wave of products is targeted for September. And Eric Simon, game developer extraordinaire, is well on his way to getting those translated versions ready for production. So he's doing playthroughs of the different solo adventures also on YouTube, so you can go check those out as well. So for those fans, watch for the next product. You can get a hold of those starting in September.
Yeah. And so now we're going to introduce our guest. Today we have a Torg Eternity guest for us, and we've talked to him a couple times doing the Q&As for the Tharkold crowdfunding. So with that, I would like to welcome John Watson. Welcome, John.
Yay, John. Fanfare.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Welcome.
Appreciate it.
And so John has done work for Lester Smith Games, D6 by D6 settings and contributions to D6 by D6 Dungeons, D3 Adventures, Dark Trails Adventures, and He's worked on Torg Eternity, the Tharkold box set, and other future projects. John's also a rugby player who lives in Dallas, Texas, with his two dogs, Ragnar and Bridget. So, welcome, John, again.
Rugby, that's a real man sport right there.
Yeah, I suppose so. Well, I like to pretend to be an athlete on occasion, you know. So,
How did you get involved with Torg, John?
well, I got involved actually through just at Gen Con. I was talking with Daryl Hayhurst, and I know Ross Watson because we have the same last name. No relation at all, but I met Ross a couple of times. Seemed like a good guy, and I was actually more talking to him. And Daryl was there, and we started chatting, and I mentioned, hey, I've done some game design and things like that. I would love to be a part of, Tharkold, and that kind of raised Daryl's eyebrow. And he said, well, hey, why don't you email me your kind of gamer resume? So I did, and we chatted a little bit, and he said, yeah, let's work on Tharkold together. And the rest was history, which is very interesting experience with Daryl. We didn't agree on everything. I know I've mentioned this in other podcasts, particularly the Tharkoldu in any variety being a player character. I think he was very shocked they even wanted to do that, but that really worked out in the long run when we came up together.
So, what specific product are you working on right now?
Well, right now, for pretty much the Tharkold box set is done, of course. There's always going to be some fine tuning. Of course, when we release things to more fans, there might be some tweaks and such. But beyond that, I'm currently working on a project for the Infiniverse Adventures, excuse me, that takes place in Pan Pacifica.
Cool.
So should be some things about the Zhengxi and such in there, which I think will be rather intriguing. I'm really excited about it.
Nice. So, tell us about working on Torg Blast. What is it?
Blood on the
Blood on the
Blasted Land.
Blasted Land.
Right.
Yeah. So, what? Give us sort of like an overall plot, generalities, so no spoilers, and then sort of like what's the inciting incident for that adventure?
Yeah, well, so Blood on the Blasted Lands, takes course, surprise, surprise, no spoilers there, in the Blasted Lands where it kind of originates, but it does go over a lot of, Russia and different parts of the cosm. But the biggest overall theme is there are a group of men creatures, it's not exactly sure, which will be found out later, called the Ravagers, if you will, that are looking like they might be a massive threat. So the Storm Knights are set up to look into that, or sent by the Delphi Council to kind of investigate things. The triggering event for the adventure is that there's another team that was sent up of Storm Knights by the Delphi Council into the Blasted Lands deep inside to investigate some things, and they will go missing. So the Storm Knights in the adventure are the rescue team, if you will.
Okay.
And it takes place, like I said, all over Tharkold, which is great. You get to experience a lot of different things, and working with Brian and Lemon, both, and especially Lemon's just experience, knows a lot about Russia itself, and has really kept us true to Russian culture, which is fantastic, I think, for
Nice.
this.
And so
That's great. When did you start working on that? I'm sorry.
Oh gosh, it was I think January, February, something along those lines. Where the three of us started working on it together. Oddly enough, how we kind of came up with the idea, because we didn't know what kind of adventure we were going to design. Occasionally I keep like a journal where I'll write down notes. I got a good idea, something like that. And this one actually, oddly enough, spawned from a really weird dream I had.
What? Okay, didn't expect that.
Yeah, we did change it up quite a bit, but I had a dream originally where, it was like, God, that might be an interesting adventure. But it did change where it was, my dream was, going into like place, armed men, and we encountered some kind of, sickness or disease, which of course this is not. That's too close to the Zhangxi infection in Pan Pacifica. But we changed it up from that. Some of the ideas, which I didn't expect that. I was kind of spitballing. Well, hey, we could try this, or this, and that seemed to be the one that everybody kind of latched onto. And Brian really changed it up and gave it a lot of shape with the core concept from there. That was kind of an interesting experience.
Well, so I didn't expect that. So just all of you burgeoning writers out there, don't be afraid if if a dream inspires something, write it down.
Yep,
Might not be as crazy as you think.
yeah, sometimes a little crazy though can be fun though, the right kind. Nothing too strange, but yeah.
So in this adventure, kind of where are some of the cool locations that it is?
Well, going to the Blasted Lands itself, I know there are a couple of the Day One and Rising Storm, I believe, adventures that went into the Blasted Lands, but I really like there's quite a bit in there. There's also a lot of Moscow. We get to go in Moscow, and with the Torg or Tharkold source book that's coming out. Of course, the three-way war is broken out between Jezreel, Thracian, and President Volkov the Wolf.
Right.
So you get to go through some of their sections, all of their sections actually, and experience kind of some of the differences, with them. That how Moscow, well, it's still all Tharkold. There are some differences there, and experiencing that struggle, that power struggle between the three.
Right. So, where are some of the specific locations? I mean, like, what are some of the cool sort of like maybe set pieces that we get the maps that have the cool locations? Like, what are some of those that we're going to be seeing?
Well, one of the first ones is, Red Square. You get to see that, which is kind of neat. I like that. Very iconic when most people think of Russia. Gosh, I can't remember the exact location, but in one of the later acts, you actually go way out deep into Russia. And man, I cannot remember off the top of my head right now, and I apologize for that, what the location is, but you really get to see a lot of differences, in the culture and stuff there. Other parts of Moscow I can think of. You do get to go to the northern sector. Oh man, again, I can't remember the name of it. I apologize. I'm just drawing blanks here on a lot of the names of specific locations. But in the Blasted Lands itself, it's such a big area, and I don't believe we went into detail on exactly, where. But a lot of the areas, because there are marauders and things like that, and some of their villages, if you will, or civilizations there, which are kind of their own thing and completely changed in this vast nuclear desert, that's there now.
Nice. There was a question in the chat from PK Levine. Question from John. So is this adventure set at the end of year one, once the three factions are fully expanded, or is it supposed to happen right after the Civil War starts?
Well, it's set after year one. I mean, the Civil War has already been going on for a little bit. I kind of imagine maybe 2 to 3 months or so, roughly. Some of my other authors might disagree on that, but the Civil War has been going on for a little bit of time when I was writing and how I envisioned it, and the three contenders for Tharkold, the seat of power, the High Lord seat, are definitely well into their war.
Cool. So sorry, my dog is barking right now.
No, it's okay.
Bark right now when I'm trying to talk to
It's funny. Mine was actually barking earlier, and I slashed my mic real quick. So yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about just about kind of working on Tharkold in general. One of your sort of ideas and expansions has been the aspirants. Tell us about those.
Well, the aspirants, first off, I don't know if I've told this story, but, Daryl and I disagreed big time about the Tharkoldu being a player character race. But, we came together, and which was a wonderful thing because we kind of met in the middle in some ways. So, a Tharkoldu, if you can imagine, unlike old Torg or the original Torg, where they were actually a race of creatures.
Right.
The Tharkoldu now are literally manifested evil, where they're supernatural evil completely, and being part of that, literally at your core, you're the worst things humanity. You can think of the worst nightmares, killers, murderers, all those kind of things in one, evil, wicked creature. So to really change from that, there's a little bit of, with Torg, there's possibilities. So you've got, free will and choice, that can happen. So these creatures, for whatever reason, start to feel less than bad emotions, not hatred or anything like that, but occasionally maybe even feeling just like, maybe they looked at one of their thralls as, kind of, thought of him like a dog or something, kind of reminded me when your dog barking there, which is, that bond we have with, those, our pets is, an incredible bond, but that's not something that's terribly evil would really experience. So through that choice of experiencing those emotions, they lose that connection and therefore physically change. And they're not necessarily good. They're just better and, have the ability to maybe, go down that path of good, that path of redemption. At first, we, toyed around with the name for them as the redeemed, but that didn't quite fit because they're on their path to that. And they're still, very strong. You're a Tharkoldu still, but, and, have some interesting things they can do, but they are weakened from that connection or losing that connection with that evil magic that is a part of them. So, through, different things you can do, mainly perks, you can potentially reestablish that connection. And then probably some stuff we're going to, I'll give a teaser, but not, give full details. But down the road, I've got some ideas. I'm allowed to contribute still for, potentially even, further the path of redemption, some perks, designed around that as well.
Nice. And what do you think it looks like if a player is playing what, how do you call it, aspirant? If a player is playing an aspirant, how, like, what does that look like when you're, say, in Core Earth or in, somewhere where the characters are not so monstrous?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a very good question. I mean, first and foremost, they're creatures, kind of like elves. They're tied to magic. So there are consequences for going into another cosm where the magic axiom is, I believe it's 14 or 12. I can't remember which one, but low enough to where, it doesn't really support them. So, they can still go there. They're going to be just, somewhat hindered, kind of like an elf is as well, because they are creatures of magic. There's also the big thing is they're monstrous. I mean, they're a demon. Not like just a like a Dinos is kind of they look different, but they're still a mortal creature. These Tharkoldu, they're not. They are something that was just a monster and changed. So they've still got that reputation about them. So, they do have, some in-game penalties for, interacting with people, of course, because, I don't think anybody should just be casually be like, oh, hey, Mr. Demon, how you doing? So which kind of makes sense. And there's going to be some difficult role-playing moments there to kind of, constantly have to prove yourself, which I think is, could be rather interesting for some gamers.
Nice. So, kind of tell us about, you're saying it's the adventure starts in the blasted lands, and so what is, it's been irradiated from the from the nuclear weapon that was used on the Maelstrom Bridge, and so what sort of effects has that had on the blasted lands, and what kind of other foes are we probably going to see there?
Well, the biggest effect that's out on the blasted lands, when the Moscow Gambit happened, and not only to destroy the Maelstrom Bridge, and you got this nuclear energy rating down, but you also have it mixed with that demonic energy. And unfortunately, there were people there, so that rained down upon them. So, one thing we'll see is, a lot of abominations, and something else, we discuss in the core rule book as well is to, well, what if you wanted to play a Storm Knight that was an abomination? And they're different, because some people would think, oh, well, maybe they're like Pulp Powers from Nile, but the biggest difference from them is there's always some consequence to having it too. You're mutated. And we're not talking about like necessarily X-Men mutants, more of I would think like the Toxic Avenger. Not as comedic, I would hope, because it's Tharkold, but you can think of more of kind of that aspect. But you might have some, incredible powers. So, encountering, we're back to the adventure more, but you can counter, things like that, foes like that. They're also, the Tharkoldu, which are, somewhat hardier than humans, and the race even, which is, another race in Tharkold. Can't survive that. So, there's encounters with, Tharkoldu as well, that you might see, mutated animals or abomination animals. I know there's even a scene, a little bit of a spoiler, because I know Brian, when I was watching of his cast, he already kind of revealed it, but the Chain Wolves. I briefly mentioned it, but you can see those in the adventure there. They're kind of a really interesting creature. You can think of like just a regular wolf, but they have this, these chains, coming off of them that they can, shoot out at their opponents and such. And they do hunt in packs, really interesting creatures. There's also, some of the threats, vehicles there. I know the powering of a vehicle through, somebody's fear. You'll probably see that there in the adventure. A lot of those things we were able to explore in the blasted lands, those kind of threats. Whereas, fuel might not be as common there, but they still got vehicles, still want to transport. So, got to come up with another way to do it.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool idea. What does so? There's been talk that the you know the Blasted Land has a sort of Mad Max feel to it.
Hmm.
Why is that? Like, what gives that feel in the game?
Well, in the game, it's the desolation. It's kind of a desert-like area. Whenever I watch Mad Max, was the first thing I was like, man, that looks like kind of barren. There's just this long stretch of highway, and everything. And you've got these really people that have kind of well, in some ways, as far as a society goes, stepped back, where it's become more tribal, more survival of the fittest or the strong lead, and you have groups of people that are constantly trying to survive through these scavenging, taking what they can and want. So of course the strongest are going to kind of rise to the top, and they're not going to be as open to things like negotiation or talking, and more of the law of dominance. That's where that really comes into play in the Tharkold. Whereas you usually see that from more of the demons, the Tharkold do, or the techno demons. But in the Blasted Lands, it's everybody. Not that it can't be in the rest of Tharkold, but it's really personified in the Blasted Lands, just because of, well, what else are they going to do? How are they going to survive? So dominance has to take place for that survival of everyone out there. Oh man, I'm trying to think of that. I haven't read completely all of When Cosmos Collide. Man, I'm trying to think. I don't believe we did do that. Don't quote me on that. But I know there are some things similar, but I don't think exactly that.
Okay, and I'm sorry. Apparently, I was muted right there. So what I just asked him was if there were pain apps that were going to be charged, which was included in Cosmos Collide. Um, let's see. Do you have any other questions for Jonathan?
Well, I just want to know, from the point of view of wrapping the whole project up, I mean,
Hmm.
how close are you to being finished with your portion? This isn't from a production standpoint, but for the entertainment of the fans. And if you were to do something else for Darkworld after that, what would that be?
Well, as far as wrapping up goes, I mean, we're pretty much done. There'll occasionally be, well, hey, we got enough room to add something here. So I added another member to the Delphi Council, which is, I don't want to tell what. Hopefully, the fans will be able to figure out, but a very, very, very interesting member that's kind of unlikely. To give you a hint there. So, like recently, I was able to do that. I was all excited. I had Deanna. She reached out to me. I was like, "Oh man, yeah, I love. I'll type that up in a fury." So, I was able to do that. But we're pretty
Right.
much done. It's just some little bitty tweaks here and there we're finding, but yeah, it's all pretty much done. Wrapping up the project. Future things for Tharkold that I like to work on. Year two, I would love to work on that. I was
Sure.
actually a part of Daryl's backer game at Gen Con for Tharkold, where it kind of decides the fate after year one, what happens. He had an extra seat, and he invited me out to play in that. Oh man, that was such a good game, and
Hey,
definitely gives us more of a direction to go. And I loved how the fans, we together made a decision on, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is the direction we're going to take, and impacting the world as we know it in Tharkold, which is a lot of fun to do that.
awesome. Well, as far as the Torg line is going for us here at Ulysses, the Tharkold crowdfunding is live on Game on Tabletop right now, and it runs through July the 14th. And I'm not sure exactly where we are just yet, Robert. I think we passed another stretch goal earlier today, so
Yeah.
there's happening there.
Currently we are at 623 backers. We've just passed 134,000, so we're about 5,900 before we unlock the next goal, and
Okay.
that's going to be some Tharkold spell cards. We just unlocked at 130,000 the Delphi Missions Writers Roundtable, so that will be
Oh, great.
going up. Uh,
Nice.
I'm not going to list everything we've passed, but we've done a bunch of Q&As. We've done the Tharkold Blasted Lands update, the major players of Tharkold, common threats of Tharkold, and the Tharkold sourcebook deep dive. Those are all on YouTube. And next week we're going to be doing the Blood on the Blasted Land Act 1 playthrough.
Oh,
Like
that
I
should be
said,
fun.
yeah. Greg's going to be running that, so and I get to play, so I'm excited for that.
Very
Oh,
good. All
nice,
right.
nice, Robert. Hey,
And
good for you, man.
thanks. And then the Delphi Missions Riders Roundtable, which I just mentioned, we'll do that next week as well. So we're getting through those stretch goals.
We've got a number of previews up as well. We won't read through all of them, but the latest two, preview number 7 is about perks, and preview number 8 is about psionics. And is that last one done now?
I think there might be another one tomorrow, or Monday will be the last ones I think that we do.
Okay.
All of these, the links for all of the previews will be up on the website, and they'll be included when I put this video up on YouTube as well. We're still doing the Stay at Home Play Torg Eternity campaign, where you can go and you can get the Up the Creek Quick Start for pay what you want. If you want to throw a couple dollars, you could do that. It's a quick 1-hour demo, has some pre-generated characters, and we also are putting up the drama deck, which is also pay what you want, as well as the day one adventures, the archetypes, and the GM screen. So you can basically get everything you need to play some games with Torg Eternity.
Splendid. And we've got streaming content going on, of course, for Torg. The Four Horsemen is done every Tuesday at 5:30 Pacific on Twitch, followed up by its upload to YouTube. And this is a game mastered by John Matthew DeFogie, and it features Ross Watson, who is not related to John, our guest today. Let's make sure everyone understands.
We joke about that sometimes for distant cousins.
Yeah. Part of our anti-nepotism clause here at Ulysses. Not related. But they're both, the JM and Ross are both part of that Four Horsemen stream every Tuesday. And with Robert, he has finished his day one read through of the day one adventures, and most recently he read the Aurorsh adventure, and all of that is up on YouTube as well.
Definitely. So there's a question in the chat. Any word on cyber papacy reaching North America? I haven't heard that yet, but they should be real soon.
I do have some news on that. It's flying out of the warehouse on a special aircraft just as soon as they can get that one to take off. So that has all been arranged, which is difficult in these days, but we've got it all set. So we're going to freight that over here as quickly as possible. It's all lined up, and as soon as we get it, we'll send it out. So it's all very much in the works.
Definitely, and he also asked about Map Pack 2. So there was a little bit of a mix-up in the cyber papacy crowdfunding, and we're still working on the details. But we've got some ideas of what we're going to do for that to kind of make it right for you guys, and so more details will be forthcoming on that. But I think that that's where we're going to wrap it up today. So thank you, John, for coming and talking about Tharkold.
Yeah, thank you both, Tim and Robert. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Glad you were here.
Yeah. So thanks, everybody, for watching the Ulysses World Show. Thanks for the people in the chat asking questions. If you'd like to chat more with Ulysses folks or other fans, please check out our Discord community. If you like the show, please follow and subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Twitch, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss anything. So for Ulysses Spiel, I'm Robert Iguchi, and this is Tim Brown.
Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a good day.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Come back next Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific for more Ulysses World Show. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.